one of Tasmania's biggest tourist draw cards. The Neck is its best vantage point. It's also home to little penguins, hooded plovers and shearwater populations. Work is underway to protect the birds from predators, specifically feral cats.
The shearwater colonies, that's a big draw card. The cats will predate in those areas for quite a while until the shearwaters have left.
Conrad Daniels and Catherine Young are part of a project to curb their impact.
Bruny is super important. All of our islands, we think of them as arcs for wildlife.
So this one's just to check. Blue is still in the back.
Conrad has been trapping feral cats for the past 7 years. Remote camera monitoring shows the best places for traps.
Also using just the cameras to identify where they are, but then how they react when there are the traps. What we see on camera, a huge drop-off, from say 15 cats down to 3 in say a square kilometre sort of thing.
Feral cat trapping is just one part of cat management on Bruny Island.
It's really important if we're going to control feral cats is to start with domestic cats.
The council offers subsidised desexing, microchipping and rehoming. There are limits on how many cats can live at one property, and local laws requiring cat owners to keep their pets on their property at all times.
It is about keeping them contained to your property so they're not impacting on native wildlife. Anecdotally, it's been a fantastic result. We've certainly seen a big reduction in cat numbers.
There are 5 million pet cats in Australia. About a third are kept contained or indoors by their owners. But more than 3 million cats are still able to roam and hunt wildlife.
Each roaming pet cat kills on average 110 native animals per year, and that includes mammals, birds, frogs and reptiles.
Liz Arthur sees the impacts of cats and dogs on native wildlife firsthand.
Yeah, he's been doing really well.
She's been a veterinary nurse and now supervisor at Taronga Wildlife Hospital for 32 years.
I would say around 20 to 30% of our admissions each year would be due to cat predation. Unfortunately, the ones we do see, sometimes we can help them. We will treat them and triage them, but sometimes their injuries are quite fatal.
In Australia, local governments are primarily responsible for domestic cat regulation. A Threatened Species Recovery Hub survey of 240 councils found most require pet cats to be microchipped and registered, and many require desexing and limit how many cats a household can keep.
These measures are actually really important to manage and constrain the size of Australia's pet cat population, but they don't prevent pet cats from roaming and having impacts on wildlife in their surrounding area.
Only about a third of surveyed councils have enacted rules like a cat curfew or 24-hour cat confinement. Most jurisdictions have state legislation that allows councils to create and enforce local laws around cat confinement and curfews. But in Western Australia and New South Wales, councils have no power to introduce such rules. The City of Fremantle has tried to manage roaming domestic cats within the existing rules by prohibiting cats at council-owned parks and beaches.
We know that prohibited areas aren't working because we're still catching cats in our bushland areas.
Fremantle Council tried to go further and ban roaming cats from footpaths and road reserves, but their proposal was disallowed under current legislation.
The state legislation really isn't fit for purpose. If there was a provision for containment in the Cat Act, we would simply make a law which would be similar to dogs, and that would just simply says your cat must remain on your property at all times.
The association representing West Australian councils wants the state government to amend legislation so it reflects a 2019 review that found strong support for cat confinement. The West Australian government has scheduled another review for next year. Local governments in New South Wales are calling for similar amendments. The new state government there says it will consult with councils on the issue.
People who can contain their cat generally are now. And those people that are disadvantaged in a rental property with poor fencing, or they can't afford it, can't contain the cat, or they've got a DoorDasher cat. But there are things that we can do that really are effective.
Emeritus Professor Dr. Jackie Rand believes there are better ways to protect wildlife than cat containment.
It's providing targeted free desexing in suburbs where there's most stray cats. But there are other things that we can do as well. Councils need to be letting their residents know that you actually can really easily contain cats inside at night by using bedtime feeding. And then you close all the windows and doors.
We'd like to see a change to state and territory overarching laws to make them nationally consistent or harmonised. If we were to enact that kind of national cat containment as a policy, it would save millions of native animal species each year.
The federal government has spent millions on reducing feral cats on islands, including Bruny Island, and is reviewing its threat abatement plan for feral cats.
But it's not just feral animals that are impacting our native wildlife. Look, I strongly feel that domestic cats should be contained.
On Bruny Island, the plan isn't eradication, but rather sustained control of cats to protect the island's endangered species.
It's a huge impact on their welfare and their lives, and if we can minimise that as much as we can, then we're going to be able to hold on to our native wildlife as long as we can.